All right, today we are sinking our teeth into one of the most famous horror stories of all time, Bram Stoker's Dracula. But here's the thing, we're not just going to talk about the plot. We're going to get into the guts of how Stoker actually built this thing. He used this incredible structure that makes the terror feel shockingly real. We're basically going to assemble the evidence, piece by piece, and see how he created a monster out of nothing but paper and ink.
So this is the big question, right? This is the problem Stoker had to solve. How in the world do you convince a modern rational audience that a centuries-old vampire is not only real, but has just moved into the neighborhood? You can't just tell them a story. No, you have to make them believe it.
And the answer is, you don't write a story. You build a case file. See, Stoker's novel isn't told by, a single person. It's what's called an epistolary novel, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a collection of documents. Journal entries, letters, telegrams, even newspaper clippings. He basically hands us this folder of evidence and says, okay, you be the jury.
So our first piece of evidence, it comes from a man who has absolutely no idea what kind of nightmare he's about to walk into.
This is just a brilliant move. We don't start in some spooky, far-off land of fantasy. We start with a meticulous diary of a lawyer on a business trip. It feels so grounded, so normal. And because of that, we experience that creeping dread right alongside him as this trip just slowly, horribly goes off the rails.
And here it is. This is that moment of dawning horror. All the weird politeness, the strange hospitality, it all just melts away. Harker realizes the doors are locked. From the outside, that vague, creepy feeling he's had the whole time suddenly solidifies into one cold, hard fact. He is a prisoner.
And this is our first real look at the monster, and it's through Harker's own terrified eyes. It's not a jump scare. It's this cold, detailed observation. That hawk-like nose, the peculiarly sharp white teeth, and that unnatural, extraordinary pallor. Stoker lets Harker's own words paint the picture, and man, it is so much more chilling than just saying he was a monster.
So just as we feel like we're trapped in that castle with Harker, bam! Stoker rips us away all the way across Europe to England, where a totally new and seemingly unrelated horror is starting to unfold.
And this shift is so clever because it creates this incredible tension. We, the readers, we know there's a monster on the way. We just read Harker's journal. But the characters back in England, Mina, Lucy, they are completely in the dark. And that gap in knowledge builds this almost unbearable suspense.
And just look how fast everything escalates. First, a ghost ship crashes, the captain dead and tied to the wheel. Then, some kind of terrifying animal jumps off the wreck and disappears. Pretty soon after, a young woman named Lucy starts having these awful sleepwalking episodes, and then her friend Mina notices two tiny wounds on her neck. To them, these are all separate, awful tragedies. To us, we know exactly what we're looking at. These are the Count's footprints.
And through Mina's journal, we get the real personal feeling of it all. This isn't just a newspaper clipping about a shipwreck anymore. This is a friend who is desperately, painfully worried about someone she loves. The horror feels intimate, confusing, and, totally heartbreaking.
Okay, so Lucy is fading fast, and the regular doctors are baffled. They have to call in a specialist from Amsterdam. Professor Abraham Van Helsing, the one guy who can maybe see the pattern in all this horrifying chaos.
This is the question that's driving everyone crazy, right? They've got all these terrifying but separate pieces of the puzzle. What could possibly connect a prisoner in a castle, a ghost ship, and a dying woman? They're drowning in clues they can't understand, while Van Helsing is about to give them the picture on the box.
And here we go. This is the turning point. Van Helsing gives the nameless horror a name. It's not a disease, not a curse. It's a state of being, the undead. And suddenly, all those crazy puzzle pieces snap into place. The diagnosis is in.
And really, this is the heart of the whole thing. Van Helsing's challenge to the other characters is actually Stoker's challenge to us, the readers. He's asking them, and us, to set aside our modern rational brains for a minute and just accept a supernatural reality. The battle isn't just against a monster, it's against their own disbelief.
And look at this. It's this fascinating mix of the old world and the new. Van Helsing, he's a man of science, so he's using blood transfusions. But he's also pulling from ancient folklore, garlic flowers, sacred wafers. He's literally fighting a supernatural enemy by using a systematic, almost scientific approach to superstition. It's wild.
So once the characters finally accept this unbelievable truth, their entire role in the story flips. They are no longer just isolated victims. They become a team.
And this is where the book's structure becomes their greatest weapon. Mina Harker literally gathers up every single document that we've been reading, all the journals, letters, clippings, and she puts them all together into one single timeline. The scattered evidence becomes a unified intelligence report on their enemy.
This is the exact moment the book transforms. The Gothic mystery is officially over. All that confusion and dread gets replaced by pure purpose and determination. They know their enemy, they know his backstory, and they know what they have to do. The thriller begins.
Their mission is now perfectly clear. They make this solemn oath, and it's sworn by all the men who loved Lucy. It's what binds them together. They're not just fighting to survive anymore. They're fighting to get revenge for the fallen and to protect everyone else. They've become a fellowship.
Okay, final section. Racing the sunset. Now that they have their case file, the hunters use Dracula's own meticulous planning against him. They track his movements, and they head out for one last, desperate confrontation.
The whole final act is just this relentless chase scene. Dracula is running back to his homeland, and the heroes are right on his tail. The whole thing is a literal race against time, a mad dash to find and destroy the Count's last box of home soil before the sun goes down, which would give him all his power back and let him escape for good.
And in the final moments, with the sun just setting, they catch him. And Jonathan Harker, the same man who was Dracula's helpless prisoner at the very beginning, gets his revenge. This single swift move is the beginning of the end.
And it's followed immediately by Quincy Morris striking the final blow. See, it's not one hero. It's a team effort. A kukri knife to the throat, a Bowie knife to the heart, and in an instant, the creature that terrorized them for months just crumbles into dust.
And that question brings us right back to the power of Stoker's method. He didn't just write a monster story, he created a dossier of evil. By making us put the evidence together ourselves, he makes us believe. And that is why this monster, made of nothing but paper, continues to haunt us, feeling just as real and terrifying today as he did over a century